Seven Nation Army couldn't hold me back.
Welcome to the Heat versus the World podcast. And now, stand up and make some noise for your host, Joel Jacob.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Heat vs. the World. And if my lighting looks very gloomy to y'all, that's because I'm in a very gloomy mood right now. I'm not gonna lie, man. I don't know. Y'all know what's been going on, right? So ever since our last pod, the Heat have played in 3 games, and you guys probably know by now what happened. We played against the Wizards and we handled business. And you know what? I was happy about that win. Maybe it's just me trying to come up with silver, like just something more positive after every win, even if some wins probably don't mean as much as others. But I was really thrilled about that win against Washington because, all right, we went out and we were able to beat a bad team without having to play down to them, without having it to be a clutch game situation, albeit I do think clutch games do help the Heat be more prepared down the line. But that's not the point of this. So the Heat went in and they blew out a bad team. Congratulations to them. I was completely proud of them for actually being able to blow a squad out instead of making it like a 5-point game in the fourth quarter or whatever. So we handle business against them. And then we play Sacramento on Monday. And that right there was kind of like a gut punch because we were playing good, but then the third quarter comes around yet again, or as we've been referring to, the turd quarter, right? And despite the fact we played so good the first 2 quarters of the game, here comes the third quarter, just completely wiping out everything we did to the point where Sacramento ends up outscoring us by 20 points in the third quarter. Terrible. And then what makes it worse is the fact that the fourth quarter, we're up by 5 with less than 2 minutes left. Really, the game is in our hands. We just got to get the stops needed and go from there. Yet, despite all of this, we still fumbled, right? Because first we let DeMar DeRozan get a 4-point play. Now it's a 1-point lead for the Heat. Then Miami is able to somewhat make up for it because Tyler gets the steal and he ends up getting fouled on the other end and hits 2 free throws to make it a 3-point game. Awesome. Then what happens is Sacramento responds by a huge dunk by Malik Monk, 1-point game. And then not too long later, the Heat get the ball back, miss it, and then Domantas Sabonis hits the game winner, tipping it in after a miss by the Kings. And that's how the game goes. 0.7 seconds left. The Heat aren't able to really get a shot off in time. Well, I think they did. I believe they did, but still they weren't able to make it. And we lost that one. Terrible loss. And then we go into this game against Phoenix, right? Hopefully things will get better, but they don't, right? Because I was happy. We had a good lead going into the third quarter. We were up 3 actually, so not like a good lead, but still. But then everything's going good. We're up 15 in the third quarter. I was so happy because I'm like, you know what? No third quarter is happening right now. I feel good right now. And in fact, we even finished the third quarter we finished it as a tie. Like we had the same amount of points in the third as the Suns. So like, you know what? At least we didn't get outscored, right? The issue though was that we were up so big in that third quarter, even though it wasn't a turd, you really felt that it kind of was in those final minutes because what was a 15-point game now cut down to like I think less than 5, just like that. Yeah, it was a 3-point lead now going into the fourth quarter. So now you don't know what's about to happen. And the fourth quarter comes and I'm not happy, man. Everything just goes completely out of order to the point where it seems like the game is done. And yet, for some reason, every time you think the game is over, the Heat find a way to get back in it. Like first you have the fact that, what was it? We were up by, let's see. So we were down by 3, right? I believe so. We were down by 3 points, or no, we were down four, I believe. Tyler ends up making a layup at the end. It was good. All right. We're only down two now. And what happens is we foul the Suns, Devin Booker specifically, a guy who's a really good free throw shooter. So we don't even know what the heck is going to happen. And he goes to the free throw line and surprisingly misses the first free throw and makes the second one. So now it's a 3-point game, meaning that we have a chance to tie it and take it into overtime. So, you know what? We got a shot. There's no guarantee we're going to make it, but we got a shot. And then the final play of the game, some of y'all have probably seen it, and some of y'all probably don't even want me to mention it because you're still pissed at how it goes. Basically, Terry Rozier throws a terrible pass to Jimmy, and I don't know. There's like a second left. For some reason, Jimmy passes it to Tyler, not knowing that time is literally going to run out by the time the ball gets into Tyler's hands. And that's how the game goes. We don't even get a shot off to wrap the game up. And it's so unfortunate because this was another game where we should have won, and that's the thing. Like, 3-4, it's obviously not a good record. We're below 500, but, and I hate to take the coulda, woulda, shoulda route, but like, we could have won some of these games. We could have beaten New York. We should have beaten them. We should have beaten a team like Sacramento. We should have beaten a team like Phoenix last night. The game was in our hands, but we still make foolish mistakes here and there. And that's why, like, I'm not gonna panic, like I'm obviously disappointed at this loss. Like I said at the beginning of the show, like I'm coming in to this like with kind of a gloomy mood because what on earth have we been watching these last couple games? Like we're playing good hoops here and there, but then we wrap it up with a completely different story, just complete garbage to wrap it up that just doesn't sit well with you. And all I can really say for the Heat is that I do think they'll get it together. I'm not stressed just yet, but man, it's these types of L's that kind of stress you out. And I know everybody is worried about our guys. They're worried about Jimmy to the point where I'm seeing folks come more and more vocal to the point where they want him off the team. I was talking about this on the last pod with Kevin. Like, we see the people pulling up with the, oh, send Jimmy to Golden State, send Jimmy to Houston. Let's get one of these guys. And I know Bam hasn't been playing his best hoops too. I see a lot of people coming after him as well. Another thing we addressed on the last pod. I know it's not ideal, but I still have faith in this squad, man. And like I said before, I hate to take the coulda, woulda, shoulda route for the Heat, but things could have went differently if we just, played high IQ basketball. And we're not right now, but I do have faith that we're going to be able to get to that point where everything's going to be figured out. But I know, man, the losses are frustrating right now. They are. And right now, what I'm excited about for this Heat team, if I have to come up with anything to be positive about, it's the fact that we're almost close to having a fully healthy squad coming to these games very soon. Because the players we're missing right now is Kevin Love and Jaime Jaquez Jr. Jaime Jaquez has been out these last couple games because, the Heat went to Mexico City for that game against Washington. After that, he just wasn't the same. And I mean, I don't know exactly what he ate there to cause it. All I know is that Jimmy literally missed a game or two last year after their Mexico game from last season for literally that same thing. I don't want to butcher it because I don't know the exact pronunciation. Gastro stomach issues. All right. So all of that being said, like Jaime is going to be coming back soon. Kevin Love will be coming back very soon. In fact, he was on the bench for yesterday's game, and the only reason why he hasn't played yet is, obviously he was dealing with the personal issues, but now he's trying to like get himself conditioned so that he's ready for the season, and he's going to be back too. So we're going to be 100%. And I know some of y'all are going to hear me say this and be like, okay, Jaime and Kevin Love is going to be the difference for this team. But at the same time, it's like there's 75 games left for this team. You know what I'm saying? And I know we want to be hard on them, but if people aren't taking it too hard at least on like the Bucks or the Sixers for both teams being 1-6 right now, I don't want to hear that excuse for the Heat who are just 3-4. Like it's not easy. There are still teams out there that are trying to figure it out, just like the Heat. Give this squad some patience. Like I know the losses are frustrating, but I'm not losing it just yet. Obviously, I'm disappointed. Yeah, I see this game last night and I'm completely worked up because I'm like, how the heck did we just fumble it like that? Like we did against Sacramento, like we did against New York. But I'm not trying to like let this completely overtake me to the point where I'm ready to completely just crash out on this squad. You know what I'm saying? So overall, man, I still feel good about this squad. And for the Heat moving forward, man, I think it's just about, bouncing back and doing what you got to do. And like I said before, I want to see the Heat go out there and get some statement wins. I want them to go out there and send a message by playing against a good team and being able to get a win. This upcoming game we have is against the Nuggets, and that's a huge deal to me. Not only because this is the team that beat us in our last run to the finals, but this is a squad who we haven't beaten in a regular season game on their turf since 2016, man. Like Obama was still in office when the Heat went and beat the Nuggets in Denver in a regular season game. So I need Miami to go out there and handle business. Obviously, Nikola Jokic is going to be a problem, but if it makes y'all feel better, Aaron Gordon isn't playing, and considering how dirty he did us during that finals appearance we had back in 2023, that should be good news to everyone listening to this. Then you also have the fact that what's it called? The altitude might be a factor in this because I remember last season we played against Denver and that was not pretty at all. Like they had Terry who was hooping leading up to that game. The dude couldn't make everything. I never seen someone airball as many shots as Terry did in that game. It was not pretty. I don't know if that brother was just out of it or if it was the altitude messing him up. But when I tell y'all that it was ugly, like it was terrible. All right. So hopefully the altitude, if that is really the factor for the Heat's issues, hopefully it doesn't play too big of a factor against the squad for this game against Denver, because it's not going to be easy. We're looking at a 6-game schedule on the road, and it would have been nice to start 1-0 against Phoenix, but right now I think you need this type of road trip to just get your mind together and just completely, get yourself in that right mindset, because this is going to be a test for Miami. These types of road trips have always been a make or break for the Heat. Going out there, playing these teams in these other cities and trying to get it together, going against, some tougher opponents, whether if it is a Phoenix, whether if it is a Denver or whoever else is on that schedule. So for Miami, this is going to be important. I want my squad to go out there, figure it out during this stretch right now. Okay, like this is, correct me if I'm wrong, I think a 6-game road stretch. So we're 1 game down, 5 more to go. I'm not asking you to go 5-0 in these next few games, but just pull it together. I believe in this squad. I confidently can tell you right now that I'm not worried at all, at least not yet. Just go out there, figure out what you got to figure out. Hopefully keep the third quarter a thing of the past. And, like I said, even though it wasn't that bad of a quarter against Phoenix, we ended up tying with them. Like they didn't end up outscoring us by a crazy amount like Sacramento did. I'm talking about a good quarter from like the third quarter starts all the way till the very end, because that Phoenix game, like we really was cooking them in that third quarter, and then everything just went out the window. It felt like in those final minutes of the third, where we still found a way to make it a 3-point game again. Like let's put that out of our minds. Let's go into this game against Denver and the rest of this road trip and handle business. And like I said, I'm not asking for perfection. I'm not asking to go 5-0 against these next teams we're playing on the road, but just simply play the Miami Heat basketball y'all are capable of. And I know there are things that we still got to figure out. And that's why I said we still got 75 games left. But take this time to really come together as a team and do y'all thing. And hopefully this squad is going to be able to play some great basketball once everyone's healthy, because I've been focusing on some of these other guys, but some of the rookies have stepped up too, because Pell Larson has been playing great basketball. And I'm so happy to see another draft pick of ours, being able to go out there and produce at this type of level. So shout outs to Pell. And I'm even more happy because Kel'el Ware got minutes yesterday, meaningful minutes, by the way. I'm not talking about garbage time. The dude actually played and was able to put up some good buckets here and there. And, he wasn't perfect. I mean, there was a couple of times where Yusuf Nurkic was looking like Hakeem Olajuwon against him, but the dude is just a rookie. And besides, Yusuf was looking like Hakeem regardless of who was guarding him. I mean, the dude almost had a 2020 game last night, which is completely unacceptable, but that's not the point right now. What is the point, though, is that Miami, they still got things to figure out. And like I mentioned before, we're still in a good place right now because other teams are trying to figure their stuff out too. New York just lost last night as well. I believe they have the same record as the Heat. Okay, the Bucks and Sixers, they're still trying to figure it out too. They're 1-6 right now. Okay, like you have the Bucks, who everyone is scared might implode very soon. And we're not going to talk about those Giannis rumors because I'm not focused on any of that. We're focused on the players who are on our team right now. So don't ask me about how do I feel about the potential of Giannis coming to Miami, because we're not focused on that. It's all probably a bunch of bull anyways. So don't worry about that. But the Bucks are still trying to figure out stuff. They're trying to handle stuff, and they could be on the brink of implosion. We don't know. I know a lot of people keep flirting that. And while I do think the Bucks can eventually figure it out, it's not something to rule out too. The idea that maybe things might not work out to the point where things just go kablooey. Then on the other hand, you got the Sixers, and I don't know what's going on there. They're 1-6. Tyrese Maxey is going to be out for a couple weeks. Shams went out and tweeted that today. And then you have a guy like Joel Embiid, who's now suspended for 3 games because he went and punched a reporter. Well, we heard he punched a reporter, but then you have Shams coming out saying that he apparently only shoved him. So maybe, I don't know, maybe the team is trying to cover it up because they don't want him to get a harsher punishment. Or maybe it was just cap from their main reporter who came out and tweeted this before completely deleting it. So we'll see. But, there are teams who are going through it right now. And while Miami has their own like trials and tribulations to go through, I mean, my bad, it does seem like they're going to be able to figure this out. Okay, I'm not going to panic just yet. We're not going to crash out just yet, Heat fans. We're going to be fine. We just got to take a deep breath and let the squad handle business the way how I know they're capable of doing. All right. So we got to take it one day at a time, let them do what they got to do. And some players are going to come into this season and they're not going to be completely perfect, but you got to give them time too. I know Josh Richardson, and it was that game against Sacramento. The dude was struggling, man. I'm going to be just straight up honest with it. The dude was just out there and he wasn't playing that type of basketball that he was able to play for the Heat last year, where he's a guy that can maybe come off the bench and give you something here and there. The dude was struggling in that game against Sacramento, and I'm not going to be too rough on him. I know a lot of y'all saw that and was like, oh, what the heck is he doing? Bro, get rid of this dude, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I understand the frustration, but y'all got to remember, this guy has not played basketball since February when he got injured against the Celtics. So the dude isn't going to come out playing like 100% just yet, because you're talking about playing now in the month of November after being out since February. Like, that's a long time to be away from the court. So I'm not too stressed about him. Give him some time to get together. And same thing goes for the squad, man. I think you got to remember that Spo kind of tinkered with this offense this year, which is why things don't look completely right, because we're trying to do without the offense nonsense that we saw from last year, to the point where we were one of the worst teams offensively. Because as a guy like Kay mentioned on our very first show we did for the season, the Heat don't have to be what's the word I'm looking for? They don't have to be the best team on offense. You know, we're able to hold it down on defense thanks to having an anchor like Bam on our squad, to the point where if our offense can just be at the very least in the middle of the pack, like top 15 or whatever, we're still gonna be a good squad and we're still gonna be able to compete. In other words, we don't have to be a top 10 or top 5 offense. Just be in the middle of it. Be in the middle of the pack and you're good, because we already do so much on the defensive end thanks to guys like Bam and others holding it down for us. So I'm not too worried about it, and we're just gonna go from there, man. Hopefully the next time I do a pod, hopefully I'll have some folks pull up with me. I know it's been a busy week for everyone with all the things going on in the world right now, but hopefully we are going to be able to go into this next pod feeling good about the Heat. And who knows, maybe we'll get some really good wins, maybe go undefeated this week and just go from there. Aside from that, man, thank y'all so much for tuning into this short episode of Heat vs. the World. Make sure to follow Heat vs. the World on all platforms at HVTW Podcast. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at JoelKJacob_. And man, we got so much content heading our way. Make sure to keep on listening and we'll go from there. Hit my music because we out.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time with a brand new episode of the Heat vs. the World Podcast.